So he's just gonna call me next week and set up time.
They just had two.
I'll swear, all I know is I got one bigger. But he's set and ready to go.
Yeah.
Peggy did go to the conference, so that's good.
Are we set? Okay, let's bring the meeting to order. And start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ryan, would you lead the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Sarah, please call the roll.
Commissioner DeMartini,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly. Here. Commissioner Wilson. Here. Commissioner DePillo, Chairman Undergo.
Here. Okay, at this time, we are going to move to ceremonial matters and recognize departing planning commissioner, Ryan DeMartini. If you'll join me up front here, Ryan. Just make things exciting on the outcome. So we have a proclamation honoring Mr. Ryan DeMartini from the Town of Lewis Planning Commission. And we'll start by saying, whereas Ryan DeMartini has served the town of Lewis well and volunteering many hours of time on the planning commission since January 24, 2023. Whereas Ryan devoted many hours to the commission and town conscientiously and carefully hearing a variety of town planning proposals and development applications. And whereas he has expressed a strong belief in care in the community and ensured that the character and future of the town was considered with each application. And whereas Ryan assisted with numerous town policy documents and development approvals, including the 2040 general plan update and the EIR, modifications to the zoning ordinance, zoning map, Sierra College Boulevard project, UC Master Gardener's demonstration garden at the Loomis Library, syringe services ordinance, the Hidden Grove project EIR, the town's capital improvement program, the Sierra Foothills Academy improvement project, and numerous minor land divisions. And now, therefore, it is here by proclaiming by the planning commission for the town of Loomis on behalf of all of our citizens, does hereby express our sincere appreciation and thanks to Ryan DeMartini for his efforts, time, and dedication given to the town by serving on the planning commission. It is with sincere gratitude and appreciation that we thank you for your time and your service to the town of Loomis this day, 25th of March, 2025. Ryan, it has been kind of quiet around here, the planning commission for the last couple of years, and so we wish we would have more time to take advantage and benefit from your background and the things that you brought forward. But that you'll be involved and you'll remain involved in the town, and please come forward. I know you did a lot of work before you were on the planning commission with the general plan update, so we appreciate the time and dedication and away from your family. Ryan, as you know, or may not know, Ryan's a father, newly anointed father. And so I hope that he gets some sleep. Now he's got a few extra hours in the month. And with that, it's been a pleasure. And we thank you for your time, all right? Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, at this time, we are going to move to the administration of oath to the incoming planning commissioner. Peggy Lee is here tonight, and she will be sworn in by Carol. Nate DePillo is absent tonight, so he'll be sworn in at a later date. So Peggy, please come up and go see Carol. She's got your oath for you.
Right here. So we're gonna go ahead and just repeat after me. So we'll go ahead and raise your right hand. For the office of planning commission, I do solemnly swear or affirm.
We solemnly swear or affirm
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to.
Very good. Awesome. Congratulations.
Okay, we're gonna pause and we're gonna change out nameplates.
On the other way.
Maybe it's tight back here.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome Peggy. Okay, at this time. We are going to move to the annual election of commission chair and vice chair.
I'd like to make a motion to keep Tim as our chairman and myself as vice chair for the upcoming 2025 year.
I'll second.
Okay. Do we need to open this up for public comment? Christie?
I don't. So.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Sarah, please call the roll.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Chairman Undergo.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move to public comment for items not on the agenda. I don't see anyone in the Zoom audience. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Ryan. See you
Bye,
around.
Ryan.
Any public comment for items not on the agenda? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on. And we're going to move on to the adoption of the agenda. We're looking for a motion.
I motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Sarah, please call the roll. Well, let's pause here. Open up for public comment. Okay. Sarah, please call the roll.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee. Yes. Chairman Undergo.
Yes. Okay, public comment on the consent agenda. Seeing and hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
I second.
Sarah, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee. Yes. Chairman Undergo.
Yes. Okay, we have one item of business tonight, and we have a planning commission workshop. And this is good for just a tune-up every year or every other year. So Christie's going to lead that discussion. Christie, take it away.
Sure, we'll give Sarah 1 minute to bring up the PowerPoint. So we'll just do a little refresher on the roles of the planning commissioner. So we'll just go over planning documents, just a refresher of what planning documents you might be utilizing as a planning commissioner, and then your role. So you've probably seen this chart before, and it's just describing the relationship of planning documents, with the general plan being the pinnacle of that, and then everything beneath it needing to be consistent with that general plan. So that includes things like specific plans, the zoning ordinance, the municipal code, any standards or guidelines. And then underneath that, things like conditional use permits, subdivision maps are all things that should be consistent throughout. So the next slide just shows that consistency layout between with the general plan on top and leading down to things like standards and guidelines. So what is the general plan? The general plan is the constitution for the town for planning and development. It provides the long range vision, so about a 20-year horizon for the town. It's identifying important community issues and solutions. It provides a basis for your land use decisions. For example, the land use diagram guides land use in the town. It promotes community participation. It sets the ground rules for the town operations, and it sets timelines for implementation. So implementing documents of the general plan, from the general plan, include specific plans, any specialty plans like a drainage master plan or a trails plan, for example. The zoning ordinance and zoning map and municipal code all fall within that. And the zoning ordinance really provides you with a higher level of detail in terms of land use decisions. And then there are things like standards, our land development manual, the construction improvement standards are all things that support that. And then sometimes you can have guidelines or CEQA. So when we get down to actual projects and the California Environmental Quality Act, we'll talk about that. So the zoning ordinance is an ordinance within the municipal code that implements general plan policies related to land use and housing. It prescribes allowable land uses and development standards, including building uses, building size, so the height limits, lot coverage, setbacks. It also talks about things that are development standards, so parking requirements, landscaping requirements, things of that nature, and other performance standards such as waterway setbacks, for example. And then you have the California Environmental Quality Act, which is an informational and disclosure document that analyzes the potential effects, trade-offs, and mitigation of a project. It's not a directing document so much as it is an informational document. It identifies potential impacts and, where possible, mitigation measures the town can apply to prevent or eliminate an impact. So again, disclosure document versus a legislative document. And it does not prohibit a jurisdiction from adopting a project when there are significant impacts. In those cases, findings are written up and a statement of overriding conditions are made. So sometimes there are impacts that are impossible to avoid and impossible to mitigate. And in those cases, you look at the other values of the project and determine you're weighing, is this, do the benefits outweigh the risks? So there's multiple types of CEQA documents, and you'll come across a whole variety as a planning commissioner. So there are exemptions. So things like minor changes that don't trigger an environmental review, or things that are not considered a project per se. So, for example, changing the reference to the California Government Code in our municipal codes, a reference or something like that would be an exemption. Minor, additions, minor land use changes, those can sometimes fall into an exemption. Most of what you'll see is falling into an exemption. Then there are initial studies, and that determines whether the project may have a significant effect on the environment. You might have seen this as a checklist document. And going along with that is either a negative declaration or a mitigated negative declaration. So If that initial study shows a project would have no significant effect, then it's a negative declaration. If there are some effects that require some mitigation and the mitigation can avoid that effect, then a mitigated negative declaration is appropriate. And then for really big projects or projects on sites that have a lot of resources, for example, an environmental impact report is the appropriate CEQA document. So the role of the Planning Commission. So as you know, you are appointed by the town council. And you're not a policymaker, that's the council's job, but you work with your council member to assist them or provide them with your thoughts on policies. You do that by making recommendations to the council. So those recommendations address policies, general plan elements, specialized plans, the zoning ordinance, implementation measures, and major subdivisions. So for example, the town council will look at major subdivisions or instances where there is a dedication of, say, right of way or a parkland. Those are instances where it involves the exchange of funding, and so they become involved at that point and make final decisions. Also, if there's a zoning amendment or a general plan amendment, that's where they come in to make the final decision and you are making a recommendation to them. You're also part of the creation process. So you're participating in the development of the general plan and the housing element and the zoning ordinance. Even if you're not the final vote on it, you're still a major player in that effort. You're facilitating community engagement and conducting study sessions and other forums to bring the community together. Most of what you're going to be doing is project approval, which is a quasi judicial action. You're serving sort of as a jury on a project. These are for individual development project reviews. So like we just had Sierra Foothills Academy, where you were tasked with evaluating the project and its merits. So this includes site and design review, major conditional use permits, major variances, and minor land divisions, except for those falling under SB 9. You're not allowed to look at them. They have to be a ministerial action. So you're looking at discretionary and not ministerial. You're also assuring that there's consistency with the general plan and zoning ordinance as you review projects. Same with the CEQA review. You're evaluating that document and the merits of the project. And you're conducting a public hearing like we're doing at all of our planning commission meetings. So, you know, it's important to attend them as much as you can to ensure there's a quorum. Things happen and life happens. You get sick, you might be out of town. It's understandable, but make an effort to attend when you can. So what are some planning commissioner traits? You're someone who knows your community and you're providing personal expertise. You're keeping an open mind to listen to new ideas. You have an ability to see the strengths and weaknesses of proposals. You're engaging critical thinking skills, leading toward finding solutions when working with others. Oftentimes there are problems that need a solution, and having those discussions is a good role for the planning commissioner. You would have a willingness to spend the time required to study materials and attend regularly. You're making a commitment to making the process fair for everyone. You have faith in the future and the ability of the community to shape that future. You're articulating concise reasons for your decisions. I've been at other planning commissions in other jurisdictions, and sometimes people like to articulate their opinions for very long periods of time. And it's always good to be concise And you guys have all done a great job, so I'm not directing that at you in any way. But it's always good to be concise and to the point. And then be respectful of the public, staff, and each other. So how a commissioner deals with the information received. You want to read your staff report. That's kind of the summary report of the project that you're looking at. Read the environmental document. When it comes to an EIR, you know, that can be a very time-consuming effort. So in those cases, we'll try to get you a little more extra time to actually review that, because sometimes they can be hundreds of pages long. If it's a mitigated negative declaration, for example, it's much briefer, and you can go through the summary section, and that can help you out if you're pressed for time. But it'll give you a good idea of what's going on with the environment on that particular site. Read the mitigation monitoring program that goes with the environmental document if appropriate. You can view the project site online or visit the site in person and get a sense of the limitations or the benefits of that site. Read through any comments that have been received, research prior projects that may be similar, understand the findings that are in the staff report and the your packet. Have meetings when appropriate. So you can meet with staff, the applicant, stakeholders, and the community. Just be mindful of the Brown Act. When we can, I try to do a 2x2 meeting, for example, so that two of you meet with an applicant at a time if they want to present something. And you can hopefully avoid any Brown Act issues when there's just two of you together at a time. Disclose your research activity, be upfront, focus on the facts, the what, where, density, duration. Those are things to look at when you're evaluating a project, rather than opinions or, you know, things that are more of an emotional nature. Look at the facts and listen attentively at meetings. So questions you might ask as a planning commissioner. Is the proposal in compliance and consistent with the general plan and the municipal code? Does the environmental document disclose the impacts? Is there anything deficient about the environmental document? Is the analysis in that document objective, thorough, and correct? Do the mitigation measures work, or are they completely infeasible? Are there mitigation measures that might work better that you can suggest? Are the mitigation measures flexible enough to adjust to changing conditions? And how will the mitigation measures be enforced? Is it something enforceable? Is it just a grandiose idea? Those are important things to think about. And then, of course, the ultimate question is what is best for the community? So a commissioner's perspective, and on this, you have local knowledge. You have lived here, you have experienced Loomis for a number of years, and you understand your town. You have knowledge of prior decisions. It's good to make consistent decisions. If there's a project that proposes a restaurant on a particular parcel and you deny that, and then a year later, another restaurant is proposed on the same parcel, think about the things that you denied the previous project for. Use approaches that work, and identify when a policy or approach needs to change. Sometimes you'll see with projects as you're evaluating them, a topic might come up over and over between different projects. And that might be a clue to say, is this policy good? Is this working? Or do we need to change our approach? And, you know, that can happen over time as technology changes, economics changes, politics, culture. There's all things that go on that affect the wording of a policy, for example. Have confidence in your decision. You know what you're doing. You can make great decisions. You know you're doing a great job. And so have confidence in what you feel about a project and what you decide. And be mindful of state law and the Brown Act. So state law is increasingly tightening its grip on planning and the decisions that you're able to make without having a consequence with other state agencies, for example. So be mindful of those laws. You might feel like it's great to take a stand, but it's getting many communities into very deep trouble. So just be mindful of that. And then, of course, the Brown Act, don't have a group, don't meet up at Smithville and over coffee talk about a project and how you're all planning to vote. That would be a violation of the Brown Act. So keep that in mind as you go forward. So working with staff, we're here for you. We're a resource of knowledge. So we've got information on the history of a project, processes, policies, technical information. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer your questions. We can also help in identifying solutions and be a resource to understand options and consequences. Please alert us to changes, questions, or concerns ahead of time. So as soon as those packets go out, take a look at them and think of any questions that you might have. The earlier you can bring your questions or concerns to us, the more time we have to provide you with a robust answer. When things are brought up during the meeting, for example, I might not know how many inches of asphalt they're planning on putting in their parking lot, for example. That might not be something I've memorized. So if you can ask me in advance, then I can provide you with that information. Make requests to staff to include information in the staff report and presentation. So again, coming forward early. You can also request staff to consider modifications to the general plan and the code when appropriate during an update process. So, for example, in a couple of years, we're going to need to update the housing element again. And if you have things that you would like to consider, that would be an appropriate time to look at a modification to the housing element. I would not suggest doing it right now. It's an expensive process. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So provide us with clear and concise requests and direction, and be mindful of your requests because they can consume time and resources and funding. You know, they might be good ideas, but if we can time things with a regular update, for example, it will save the town funds that would be expended for noticing and for the environmental document and everything that goes along with an update. Working with the community, you're a resource of knowledge and they're a resource of knowledge as well. So there's undocumented local knowledge and history. There's people who have lived in Loomis all their lives and they've seen changes to the town over many decades, and they have some history and knowledge of what's gone on in the past, and they can be a resource for you. They might have ideas for practical implementation. There might be something where you're struggling with, is this the right thing or is there something better? And the public can have some wonderful ideas for you. And there's an understanding of practical issues as well. Commissioners are educators, so you educate the community on how the process works, how to comment effectively. For example, so many times people will come to the podium or they'll submit a letter on an EIR, for example, a comment letter. And the extent of it is, I hate this project, but there's no context to it. There's no why. You hate it because there's not enough parking? Do you hate it because it's going to create noise? Why do you hate it? And then further than that, why is the EIR deficient in the analysis? Is there something that they didn't include in their noise study that makes you feel the noise is going to be so loud that you hate it? Or that there is no parking study included, for example. And then your educators on what points are important in the decision process. What's the main focus? Also, there's information gathering that you will be engaged with the community. You're listening and observing to identify the real issues. What's at the heart of the issue? You're exploring options that work, and you're being objective and focusing on those facts. So commissioners working with commissioners, you can talk to one another. Just don't talk to each other as a group or as a party line, for example. You have commissioners who have served for many, many years and who have seen many different projects and different types of projects. And they can be a resource for past decisions. Why did we allow this at this corner? What was the reasoning behind that? Why did we give this use permit 20 years ago? There's information that you can glean from that. So again, a resource for the history of policy direction. Why did we decide on this in the general plan update? How do we come to this conclusion? There were a lot of participants, a lot of committees. And so you have not only planning commissioners and council members who served on those committees, but members of the public. And they can be a resource for you. And then you can test ideas with each other, but just be mindful of the Brown Act. And then as a commissioner working with elected officials, meaning council members, county board of supervisors, other board members, you can reach out to them. They're a resource to you as well. And it might help to understand their policy and what are the drivers to their decisions. Why did the school board decide on this? You can discuss ideas and options that will work in the community. You might have a council member who's been here a long time and they have good ideas for what will work in the community, or it might be a county supervisor who's been in the region for a long time. Communicate on how decisions were made and major issues. Again, you're going back to them and saying, why did you decide on this or that? And then you can have staff keep you appraised on the decisions by council. We have everything online. You can watch our YouTubes, but you can also reach out to staff and get an update on what was decided. And that's the conclusion.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Let's open it up for comments or questions of commissioners at this time.
Good job, Christy. Lots to cover. I have a question about something someone asked me about. It is the new fire zone that Placer County just came out with. Will that be on our town website so people in our town can go there to find it rather than trying to find it on the Placer County?
Yes, it will be on our website. Sarah, is it already on the website or do we need to post that? Okay.
Well, I know I've been asked, so I didn't know.
Yeah, it is on our list of things to do, and there is also a hard copy in the lobby of Town Hall.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so people will know where they fit into those colored zones.
Yeah,
That
it's
might affect their insurance.
right. It's not the easiest to read because it's not showing parcel lines, but you can get a general idea. It'll be the people who are right on those peripheries between a high fire hazard and a medium fire hazard or no fire hazard. So
Yeah, my parcel's half and half.
yeah.
So I'm going, okay. So anyway, that's why, I asked and people have asked me.
Yeah.
So, okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have that information.
Absolutely.
Okay. Also, just other commissioners, I don't know. I try to meet with Christy ahead of time before upcoming planning commission meeting. So my questions, she'll know what I'm going to ask and she can be prepared because the audience or the community might have the same question. And so it helps her to be prepared, but it helps me to be prepared. She's wonderful to work with and has always answered. And if she doesn't know, she'll find out and tell me. And I just really, really appreciate the whole staff. Sarah's wonderful. Christy's wonderful. And we're just really blessed to have people who care. And I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I agree with Linda. We've got a great staff, and so stay connected. That would be my words of wisdom. And a lot of what we do is technical, and so we rely on staff for the professional insights on some of these things that are just for part-timers like we are. These things can be sometimes overwhelming. So it's nice to have staff as a resource. So use that when possible. I don't think we have anyone online here. Okay, let's open up for public comment. Questions of the public. Okay. We good? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Appreciate that. Planning Director's report. Christy, you're back on. She's going to give us a report on the
Alright.
planning directors.
The Hidden Grove project, we are still working through the litigation on that. There's been no change on that status.
Okay.
We will be looking at a municipal code update for general plan consistency in the coming months. I'd like to get through the inclusionary housing fee changes first, and then we'll start that process up.
Okay. Have you met with the other commissioners on that?
Not with everyone.
Okay. All right. So are you anticipating that coming back in April?
I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's the goal. And then on miscellaneous projects, we continue to have our SB9 lot splits and ADUs coming in. Quick Quack Car Wash is moving forward. Area West is working on a CEQA document for that project. They've been redesigning a portion of their layout to avoid some wetlands on the property. So that should be coming forward in the coming months. Creekstone Senior Living Community is it's a 115 unit independent and assisted living senior living community. They are working on some modifications to their project regarding improvements on their layout and circulation. And staff has contracted with Helix to prepare that CEQA document. Carmenere Estates, formerly known as Del Mar Farms, is a subdivision application submitted for 24 lots. And Rainey has been contracted to prepare that CEQA document, and they are just buttoning up some of the project design features, and that should be coming forward soon. Harvest Oaks subdivision is an application for a 14-lot subdivision along Brace Road at Stone Road. And we're working with that applicant to refine their design and connection points. Bankhead 2 subdivision is a project for a 6-lot subdivision that was received, and the applicant is also refining that design based on initial review. The Reserve subdivision at Rockland and Barton Roads is an application for 20 lots, and staff is currently working with the applicant on that design. And then there's the Pure Life Pilates project, which will come forward soon. And the application is to repurpose the existing residential building as a Pilates studio.
What's the zoning on that property offhand?
It's central commercial. So it's an allowed use. However, as a residential use changing to a commercial use, they do need to have a use permit for that changeover, and they need to provide parking. So I should have a revised plan this week, and we'll move forward on that. So it's not there's not an environmental document per se with this project because it's an existing building, and they're just adding parking to what was a rear yard.
So you design review on the exterior front?
Design, yes, and then also like landscaping, for example.
Is that across the street from the Taco Bell?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the gray building.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll have sidewalks and pedestrian improvement and things like that too. So miscellaneous odds and ends, town hall continues our public counter hours Monday through Thursday, with offices closed to the public on Fridays. If you would like to set up a meeting, for example, before the next planning commission meeting and it's a Friday, I'm there. So you just let me know and we can discuss whatever is on that particular agenda. The town website contains helpful information regarding planning and building, including application packets, frequently asked questions, and other information. And we'll have the fire hazard maps put up there soon. And then our building inspections occur on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And you can see the town website for our new online permit scheduling system that was established by the building department. And then our next planning commission regular meeting is scheduled for April 22nd at 7 p.m.
I have one question. Are any of these subdivisions under 330?
No,
Okay. So it'll take a process,
yeah,
normal
Yeah.
process.
yeah. So far they have been, they're conscientiously thought out. So they when they're all done, we'll bring those forward and you can take a look. And then we do have information online for current projects. Not everything is on there, but some of these projects are on there. So you can take a look at those. Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Okay, let's move to commissioner reports and so this is the time for anybody to get something off the chest if you want to discuss appropriately. So I know you guys went to both of you went, all
Three of us.
went to the planning academy. If there's anything to report, this would be the time to do it.
I thought there was a lot of good information. There were kind of two strands. There was kind of a more beginner strand and then the more advanced classes, which probably Linda and I went to those, and you might have taken a mix.
I did take a mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of there was a CEQA part. I thought the housing one was the most strenuous one and the most concerning, really, because they went through. I don't know if they went through all the laws, but
187 of them.
but all the constraints that really we have, and they said, when it comes down to it, all you've really got to work with pretty much anymore is your zoning, assuming that they don't do something that overrides the zoning. And what is it, the standard?
The specific plans?
Yes,
that's
yes, and the objective standards,
Yeah.
and they said that's pretty much all you have left. And that you need to make sure if you don't have those, that you need to get to work on those. Do we have something like that? Or kind of more or less or not?
Some of our standards are objective. Those would be like your setback is 50 feet or 25 feet. Others are a little more wishy-washy, so they become subjective. In terms of it's not a concrete thing. For example, it gives you any of those standards where it allows for you to make a decision on them, where it's not just, well, this is 20 and that's correct, so that's compliant. It's where you have some leeway of, well, could you have a sound wall or not? Is there a for example, you could say, okay, if the freeway noise is at this decibel, then we automatically allow for a sound wall, for example. That would be objective. But if it's, well, you could have a sound wall, or maybe you could have a berm or things like that, that's where it gets a little more wishy-washy.
Then we're in trouble because the builders can come and do whatever they want.
So is this something that we maybe need to look at some of the wishy-washy things and make decisions, or is it
It's a yes and a
much
no.
okay.
It's a yes and a no because it's only going to be a problem under those projects where they are only required to comply with objective standards. Other projects don't have that leeway. And so you might appreciate having the ability to make a decision.
So this would be like 330, those kinds of
Yes,
ones that get to wipe out a lot of things
correct.
if they want to. So we're probably okay for now on that, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pro and a con.
Yeah. One of the other things was the last one that we had in the morning, the last one before we left was on upcoming laws, which may or may not
Yeah.
come to fruition. And that was kind of scary, actually.
Scared after that meeting, and then the fact that they said we have to do by 2028, we have to do another general plan.
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
The
So
housing
we-
element of
not-
that.
Not to
Even though
redo
we
the
just
whole
have
thing, five new elements.
Yeah.
By 2028, I don't know when we have to start, but apparently it has to be in. We will not have to do the coastal one, I presume.
No.
But there was fire,
There was 5 of them. I
Yeah.
have to go back to the.
but there was one was fire, one was heat. You know
Warehouse
how Jing was always
circulation.
doing
Was it
about
warehouse
saying about,
circulation?
we need to be
Warehouse and
concerned about
circulation.
heat islands.
Yes.
Well, anyway, there's one going to be required on heat, one on fire, one on animal corridors, and I don't remember the 5th one.
One was warehouse, I believe, which,
Warehouse circulation.
well, and then circulation was different. That was
Yes.
more traffic, yeah.
Anyway, so when I even went up and asked a question, and said, we just finished our general
Yeah.
plan. Well, we need to do, everyone is going to have to do this by 2028.
Goodness.
So
But was it adopted? Put into law?
it sounded like,
Pending legislation.
it sounded like it,
that was already-
that
Okay.
was
Yeah.
in the,
Well,
already done.
Another thing to think about is there are required elements, but it doesn't mean you haven't already addressed that in another section. So for example, we have safety and noise all together instead of separate. We have our, resources. So things for like air and wildlife, water quality, those are all in an element. So it's
Since-
really looking at what have we covered and
So
what is-
somebody could
might
go
be
through and
outstanding.
say, we've already covered these points,
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, we do need to add this little bit on
Yes,
this other item.
Probably
Right.
still have to submit it, and they would have to approve it,
mhm.
that type of thing.
Mhm.
So it's still
Does
gonna-
somebody have to, do they have to approve our general plan?
You just have to submit it to the Office of Planning and Research so they have a copy, unless you're doing the housing element. That's the one that
Yes.
needs
That's the
to
big
be
one.
approval.
Yeah, that's scary too.
Yeah.
I just sat there with my jaw dropped. I just went, really? I just couldn't believe all these things that the legislature, which is a supermajority, 80 Democrats versus 20 Republicans, they're pretty much what they want, it's happening. And they're not thinking of, each town is so individual and has, even the topography and everything's so different in each town. Some people were happy, one lady got up and said, I just think you're against, doing housing and, I think we should have more housing. And I'm just going, what, where do you live, I'm not sure where she was from, but I was just floored at how it's going to tie our hands if a lot of these things get passed. It will really tie our hands of what we can do, and a lot of it will be over the counter. Your work is going to be.
That's something that I noticed, because all these things, and it says ministerial, I'm thinking, Christie.
Yeah.
Christie needs like 5 assistants.
Yeah. Well, and it prevents me from bumping it up to say if, this is too much for me, I've got too many projects all at one time, I can't even bump it up to you for a decision.
And probably some things end up with time
Yes.
constraints.
Everything has
addition-
a time
Yeah,
constraint.
the time constraints, I couldn't believe how quickly it's gotta be turned over.
Yeah.
And made decisions on. So how are we gonna do this? I don't know. And if you don't, there's fines. If you
Yeah.
don't, you know. Ugh.
Yeah.
One of the proposed ones that I hope does not pass was on SB 9. Because currently, whoever does that lot split has to stay in in that residence for 3 years.
Yes.
Well, they're looking at eliminating
I read
any
that.
residential requirement
Right.
whatsoever, which means anybody can come in, buy that house, split the lot, put,
Trying to get rid of that.
Yep.
Owner person having to be there, or even a member of the family, it's, yeah,
Right.
I went, oh, this is,
Where it becomes more commercialized instead of,
yeah,
families.
yes. There's a lot.
and the
lot-
people doing it are, if they're not living there, they don't have the same, the people that live there and do it have an interest in what they put in next to them when they split the lot.
Exactly.
If you have developers just coming in and buying up houses for sale that's got any kind of decent sized lot, and Loomis has, even Sunrise Loomis are about a 1/4 acre lot.
Right,
I would hate to see that happen.
but can we stop it if it's passed?
I guess we can find out who's working on it and
Yeah, well,
and
Yeah.
tell our assemblyman and our,
yeah, that's the
senators.
thing, we can, but our assemblyman is in the minority. So it's really hard for them to get anything passed.
and maybe you find out which
I know Kevin
committee,
Kelly would help
the
us.
committee, I don't know how the committee says, you might know more. But if these things are done like Congress, and do they go to a committee to work on something? So
Yeah,
you
they're all-
find out,
All bills are signed to a committee and then
so you find out what committee is doing that and write to them, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mhm.
try to write to the members of the committee and ask for an amendment before it gets to the floor. Yeah,
So,
I mean,
how about
we
you
need-
two?
maybe we-
What
maybe
else
we
do
need
Feel
a
that-
lobbyist.
That was class.
It was very eye-opening and my biggest takeaway from that entire 3 days or whatever it was, it's important for us to educate the public too, because
They blame it on us.
their expectations may be very different from the set of guidelines and rules that the
Right.
planning commissions are actually working under. I echo a lot of what Jean said. It was pretty eye-opening. The new fire maps, I used to be in property and casualty insurance, and the new fire maps came out like the Wednesday before we met. And I was just looking through it, and Loomis used to have no high fire this side of 80, and now it's up in Del Mar area. And actually our HOA just tried to get fire insurance and was declined for brush, and we're not even in the high fire area. So for purposes of insurance, it doesn't really matter. But the one thing that I heard about fire, which, in light of Palisades and Pasadena and all the tragedies, even up here in Paradise, is that, and maybe I got it wrong. So I was intaking a lot of information, but it sounded like as part of the 2028 plan, we had to incorporate fire and traffic, and that could be a reason for limiting density, because density in a high fire area is an obvious safety concern. So that did seem to be the one thing that, not that, not that we're a one-trick pony, but I mean, when we're looking at development and looking at our town being built out, that is one area that I don't know if we already have that in place or we need to put it in place, but they really wanted towns to pay attention to the fire and
Being able to
update
get
the
access,
circulation plan, yeah.
And what's interesting about that is I noticed there is a pending bill on SB 9 also to allow SB 9 in high fire hazard zones. So it's,
For density.
yeah, it's the exact opposite.
Wow.
I know a couple of times, different sessions, that was emphasized that almost the only resource that you have to combat or oppose some of these things is health and safety. And if, they can't go around health and safety if we can prove health and safety concerns. health
Yeah.
and safety.
Health and safety.
Yeah, it's, if something's deemed unsafe, and you can challenge it, that's your best shot.
But I don't know how difficult it is to prove that. You know.
Right.
Well, I think
With
that's where
court of
this,
Law, where we have to spend money to go
Well,
litigate it.
And it's on you to prove it.
Yeah, it would be.
well, and that's where the objectives are super important is what I
Yeah,
heard too.
the
So,
Mhm.
yeah. But it was eye-opening.
Are those annual meetings or are they every
Yeah.
2 years?
No, they're in.
The academy
In the
is every
academies?
year.
They're every year. Is
It'll
that,
be in Anaheim next year.
Yeah.
Said
Yeah.
next to Disneyland. I'm sure that's gonna be a really good place. but-
And Long Beach the year after, I think. Also Southern Cal the year after.
Probably Long Beach.
I think it was Long Beach.
Last year
is that League of Cities?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably just rotate.
Okay, any other discussion from commissioners? Okay, at this time, we are going to adjourn. Thank you, staff, for putting a meeting together for us, and we'll look forward to next months. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And there are cookies in the back.